on a bad day. Oh, and the Indian Christmas. Oh, it's like that ring, ding, 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 ding. Oh, that's funny. I love short form video. I hate kids though. Oh, what is that? Hey. Oh, he's just eating those trees. That's cool. I got a skid steer. I could get me one of these forestry mulchers. Let's check it out. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Okay. This is how I took a cheap Chinese auction brush cutter slash bystander eliminator that was not very good and honestly terrifying, and turned it into something pretty useful but still terrifying. Initially I was expecting to have to change the Lovejoy style coupling between the hydraulic motor and the gearbox for a custom built double roller chain system like Diesel Creek did here, but I got lucky and it already had the double roller style coupler. Diesel Creek had to fabricate one for his cutter because the shafts were an odd size. It didn't take long for the original blades to break. They yeed their last haul the first tree I tried to take down. And then after I replaced the blades with better ones, I did get to do a good bit of work before I was transported directly to 2010 Haiti, because this Chinese space program launched half the T-bar 50-foot starboard and nailed the neighbor's dog. After a few seconds of being shaken like I wouldn't stop crying, the control panel mercifully fell into my lap and shut the machine off. If you get a cutter like this with the T-bar, they don't all have the T-bar, mine did, I would not run it at all until you put an actual good quality round blade carrier on it. The output shaft of the gearbox is a 12 spline shaft, and that seems to be the norm on these Chinese brush cutters, instead of a 15 spline. This meant that my options were pretty limited for stump jumpers. I couldn't find one as big as I wanted, and so I had to use this pretty small one. I do think it'd work better with a larger stump jumper and shorter blades, but this seems to work okay. I did have to cut these blades a bit shorter to fit. I recommend using a bandsaw for this and not an angle grinder, because there's less of a chance of getting murked by a shattered angle grinder disc. Every blade I could find was either too short or too long, and I couldn't find any blades without these little wings. The wings are great for cutting grass, but they aren't so great for cutting into large trees, which you'll see in this video. They do still work, and I'm considering cutting that wing part off of the blade. So after I got the new blade carrier assembly and blades attached, I didn't like how the blade could hit the nut. I felt like there was a good chance the Chinesium shaft got sheared by a blade, so I added this section of pipe around the nut. I'm still not crazy about the blades being unable to swing all the way around unobstructed. The force of the blade hitting that pipe is still eventually transferred to the gearbox output shaft, but it's taken it so far, and unfortunately my first weld failed, so I did it again with a little more weld inside and outside, and that's lasted quite a while, but just after I filmed this it started to get bent a little bit, so I'm probably just going to throw some more weld on it and call it good. Another thing to consider about this style of blade, if that's what you get, is they do not swing both ways. So you may have to swap your hoses around to get yours spinning the right way. And I tried to track down the data sheet for this motor, but I couldn't really determine if it was bi-directional. I guess it is, because I've been running it backwards for a while and it seems okay. If you do that, if you change the direction, and maybe just check this anyway, the master link clip for that double roller chain needs to be facing the correct way so it's less likely to get caught by something and pop off. I was worried about this cutter not having a case drain, but that doesn't seem to matter. That seems to really only be needed for piston style pumps, where this is a radial style pump. It does have an overpressure fuse, which it still does need, and yeah, so it should be good there. And side note, don't forget to put gear oil in the gearbox if you buy one of these. A lot of them don't have it. One complaint that I have with this cutter is that the quick attach plate should have more angle to it, so that you can tilt the mower back further, because the way that it is, you have to raise it a lot to cut stuff up high, or if it's on like a bank in front of you. And you know, if President Xi here decides to launch another missile, I'd really rather not be eye level with it. I've also seen that some people have to reinforce where the motor and gearbox mount. Mine seems to already have thicker metal there, or maybe they just doubled the plates up and it seems pretty sturdy. I've also seen the quick attach mount break on these. Mine seems okay. I don't see that it's any different from other people's, but just looking at mine and over the 50 or so hours I've run it, there's no cracks, so I think maybe that's something they've fixed. And the push bar on the front, it's really too low, and you end up kind of, even with the push bar, when you're cutting trees like this, they end up just falling backwards on you, which isn't really a problem. They're not that big, but it's annoying because they end up sitting on top of the cutter and it's hard to get them off. So I didn't quite achieve the forestry mulcher dream that I was going for. I would say this thing it's more versatile than like a pull behind 3-point bush hog, but it's not as good as that for a regular mower. And part of that is just because it's on the front of a skid steer, which means, and this is going to be the case with any of these kind of brush cutters, any kind of unevenness in the ground, you tend to send the front of the thing way up in the air where it's not doing anything, or straight into the ground. So in conclusion, even though I do have some complaints, I've only got about $2,000 in this thing, and not even that because I traded on it because I'm a gremlin. I've got some time in it. I think if you're someone who's comfortable with modifications and repairs, and you're willing to take a bit of a risk, and you're poor, go for it. But also, if you can afford a name brand cutter, that really is the better option. So I got a good bit of video of this thing just cutting, so I'm just going to let that play out. Thanks for watching.